Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Expansion Pack podcast, where we download this week's gaming news and we bring it straight to you. I'm your host, Danzel, aka Black Ice, joined by my co-host, starting with my guy up in the middle here, Mr. Goopmaster Flex himself. How you doing today, bro?
Same goop, different day. You know how we do.
All right.
Let me live. All right, try my best, guys.
Had to switch
I'm
it up
trying
on
my
us.
best.
It's all good. It's all good. It's
Is
a
that
lifestyle.
really a switch up though? Is it? Let me shut up.
It's a lifestyle. You know, you gotta let it be. You gotta let it be.
I had to steal Chris' flow.
I was about to say, bro. I kind of feel like you kind of, you know what I'm saying? I'll let you rock.
God.
You know what I mean? I'll let you rock. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Well, Chris, I mean, now you got to switch it up since he jacked your whole
I'm
flow.
just gonna go back to May 25th, bro. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna go back to that. I haven't done it all year. I'm back to it.
So
you know, it's a way of life.
Technically, so you kind of technically stole his flow first, then.
Because I was
I
gooping
did.
first, you know.
I did. I stole the shit out of it. Sure did.
Oh man! All right. Well, we're back, guys. We took a little week off again. Actually, which brings me to a point we want to make here. Since scheduling is kind of getting a bit tough for us, you know, work, life, so on and so forth. We're actually going to be changing the cadence of the show a little bit. So instead of doing a show every week, we're working on getting something out to you every month instead of a podcast every month. And for those of you who are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and whatnot, you know, we had some issues getting the episodes up on there. They all should be up by now if you're listening to this. But we're going to work on throughout the week, maybe putting out some actual content, short form content, you know, maybe a couple minutes long videos or whatnot here or there on the actual YouTube page. So if you're listening to us on those podcast services, make sure to check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@xpackpod. So make sure to check us out there. But yeah, let's get right into it. You know, it wouldn't be a normal episode if we weren't going to start off with the buffer. So Chris, we about to throw it to you, bro.
Birdman hands. You know what I'm saying? All right. Pretty simple, y'all. What is the time period in which you thought gaming was most alive? Like you dedicated most of your time to it. You thought about it all the time. When for you was that period? For me personally, honestly, man, I gotta say when I was it's gonna sound funny, but it definitely was when I was like maybe like somewhere between 9 and maybe 14. And it's weird to say because I had so much less then. You know what I'm saying? I had to fucking grind my ass off to get one Game Boy, and my Game Boy got broke within a week of me getting it type shit. You know, it was rough for me back then, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know, maybe I appreciated it more. Maybe, I don't know what it was, but like, I remember them nights with my Game Boy. I didn't have a console. I didn't have any of that shit, but like, dude, I played the shit out of that thing, dude. The shit out of it. I cannot tell you how many batteries I went through, because this is back before y'all's time when we had to pop out batteries and pop them Johns back in. You couldn't charge up your shit. You know what I'm saying? Bruv, oh my God. Especially when the Game Boy Color came out. The translucent purple one. Dog, yo, I can't even tell you how much I played that shit. That shit went everywhere with me. Whenever I was bored, the way how people now, when they're like in airports and shit, they'll pull out their cell phone and Instagram or whatever. Yeah. No. I pulled out the Game Boy Color. You feel what I'm saying? Damn, yo, that red kind of dimming. Shit. Look at the back. You ain't got no more battery. You know, that's the problems that we had back then. But man, I don't know what it was, man. Like, it was a simpler time, but I was so much more obsessed with stuff. You know, I was so much more willing to give up my time for it, even at nighttime. You know, I'd be that kid that's under the blanket still playing my shit when I wasn't supposed to be, but I'm sure most of us were. And maybe a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, you get older and, you know, your obligations and all that shit kind of change as you age and all that shit. But like, man, I remember them being good times, man. I remember those being the times where we still had couch co-op and all that shit. And it really was a thing where like, yo, I remember my homeboy Kyle, man, back when the first Xbox first came out, Well, all of us was broke. Nobody had it. But Kyle got that motherfucker for Christmas one year, right? Kyle got one. Out of all the group, he got one. We was at this motherfucker house every day, bruv. Every day, dude. He had Dead or Alive. I don't remember what number it was, but it was an earlier one because it was the first Xbox. And I remember, man, we would sit there for hours and just do a match, pass the controller, pass the controller, pass the controller, do a match, pass the controller, try to unlock a character. Oh, damn, I can't do this shit. Yo, give me that shit, man. Give me that. Let me see. You know, all them times, man, those are gone. Those are times that the new gen, you're just never going to have it like that. You know what I'm saying? That shit's, it's like a special time period. You know what I'm saying, man?
I think it's also a product of just growing up too, like growing older.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because, yeah, you know, like I said, you know, your obligations and all that shit change, and like things that were important to you ain't so important to you, yada, yada. And it's not easy to just get together with the homies now and just everybody on the couch and doing this. It's not easy to do that.
That's got too much going on.
Yeah, man. So, like, I don't know. It was a time where we were more free and we were more able to just not worry about like bills and all that type of shit. And you know, that was a priority for me. You know, my Game Boy was my priority for me. My old ass cannot be sitting here talking about, no, my Game Boy is a priority. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't get away with that right now. But man, it was with some times, man. When I tell you hours, you know how cats sit here and be like, yo, what's your total hours you played of this game? It's really kind of odd to think what's my total hours being at a friend's house when I was younger playing a game. That's a really good question. I think I would love a lot of people to try to answer, because I can't tell you how much I got. The few times I'm able to come over the crib and play GoldenEye. My GoldenEye playtime was so sporadic because I wasn't always able to get access to it. Yeah. But them times that I did, bro, I gotta get kicked out the house damn near. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it's like, yo, it's crazy how that worked, man. Like, good times. Good shit. Good shit, man. Lord. Yeah, that's my answer, bro. That's my answer. Dead ass.
That's a good one, dude. I feel like you kind of reframed a little bit of my answer too, but at least some stuff that I wanted to say. But yeah, Manny, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'll say for me, like, I think my golden age of gaming was kind of like the 360 days with like Halo 3, Gears of War, you know, even like MW2, the original, not the trash one that we got a couple months ago. But yeah, like, I just feel like, and, you know, like you mentioned earlier, Denzel, that like it probably is a product of just growing up. But like, I remember coming home, you know, from a long day of school, I said, fuck homework. I'm getting on Xbox with the boys. We'll play games for hours on hours. You know, be up to like 2, 3 in the morning, go to bed, wake up next day, go to school. We talk shit to each other at school, or, you know, whatever. Like, oh, we about to do this shit when we get back home. And like, those were the glory days, you know, like back when I guess we didn't have to worry about anything, or, you know, at least me, because I know you guys are, you know, a little ahead of me. But what is it called? Yeah, you know, it's just, it sucks because like nowadays I just get on. I'm just like, I don't feel like playing anything anymore. But, you know, I still do sometimes. But, you know, like, I just feel like things were so much simpler back then. That's what made it so much better, in my opinion. But yeah, 360 glory days.
Yeah, man. It's weird, like, thinking about this, because I'm like trying to think about how I gamed in high school and like how life was. Like, so I'm gonna agree with you, Manny. For me personally, and even though I was obviously older than you at the time, like, my golden era of gaming definitely had to be 360 era. Like, even I think mostly because that was the first system that I bought with my own money. Like, I wasn't working or anything like that, but like, I got a little allowance. I was saving up for the entire summer, yada yada yada. You know, like, my cousin took me to go get the. Actually, my cousin has a lot to do with why I'm such a big gamer nowadays. But you know, went to go get my Xbox 360. I was playing Halo 2. Like I remember when the 360 first came out, the biggest game that was out for it for me was Perfect Dark Zero, and that game was horrible. That game was horrible. But your boy was out here playing like Halo 2 backwards compatible, and then eventually when Gears of War dropped, I was on that heavy, and then like it really like hit like I wouldn't say a peak, but like it hit a different level when it was the fall of like Halo 3 and the original Modern Warfare, the very first Call of Duty 4. Bro, that shit was crazy. It changed the game entirely because I remember like me and all my boys who were like into Halo, we were playing the shit out of that. But then it was like, yo, you heard about this Call of Duty thing? And it was like, bro, like the the dopamine hit of playing Call of Duty, and like every time you get the kills, like the plus 60, da, 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 level 6, level 10, level 20, UAV, airstrike, this, like it was like boom, 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 boom. It was just like constant shit just coming at your fucking face, like it just over flooding your eyeballs with like information, and like that dopamine hit constantly. And yeah, man, Call of Duty 4 was like, that was like a pivotal moment, I think, like for I think for a lot of people, and for multiplayer gaming in general. Like that shit hit like a different stratosphere as far as I'm concerned. And just in general, like the 360 era just had a lot of bangers, like great indie games. Like Shadow Complex is a game that always comes to mind. Like some of my favorite games ever I played on that system, like Bioshock Infinite, so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, and it's crazy to think about, like I had the same experience, like both of the experience that you both outlined, I had, right? Like I had the Game Boy Color, the same translucent purple one too, playing like Pokemon on there. Like, so like basically when I was a kid, my dad, for his job, he drove around a lot. So like summers, like if I was just with my dad in the car, like I'd be playing, Pokemon, like basically on the Game Boy. Or like my mom, she's a teacher, so she would sometimes have to go into the school and like do random stuff. Like I would just be there with my Game Boy, whatever. Like it's crazy to think about how that was all set up, because I think the time I played the least was probably high school, because I had so much going on. Like I was like playing random sports and all this different stuff. But like when I was younger, and then like when I got into college, it was just like those are like my two areas where I just gamed a lot. And it's literally like different spectrums of the two things that y'all said, which is wild to think about in like retrospect. But yeah, like I would say out of all those times though, like definitely peak, my golden era had to be that 360 era, man. It was great. And Microsoft fucked it all up. Because they was hitting. They were at a high. Everything they were doing was hitting. They were at the point where anytime people thought about Call of Duty, it was like they were thinking about Xbox. There was like all these different franchises that now are multi-platform, and like people, like, and now obviously PlayStation kind of has the mind share, but man, there was a moment in time where they were just like they couldn't miss, and they fucked it up with the Xbox One.
Yep, dude, man, I remember like when you mentioned just getting your first 360 that you first paid for. I don't know, man. There's something special about like earning it. When I was a kid, it's like, oh, you did good at school, so we decided to get you this. Like that feeling just booting up that console for the first time. I don't think I will ever get that feeling again. Like compared to now, like when even with buying the Series X, you boot up the Series X, it's like, oh, it's like the Xbox One, but I don't know.
There's something special to that button press. I will agree with that. There is something to that. I don't know what it is. That first button press when you get a new console. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, nah, can't beat it. Can't beat it. Yeah. It's like, whoo.
Yeah, facts, bro. Facts.
Now we're getting like pros and shit. Like it's not even the same. They just want our money. But
hey, it is. Oh man, don't even get me started on that whole pro shit. There's rumor going around that we're gonna get a PlayStation 5 Pro next year. For what, bro? We ain't even.
Don't need them, man. We just got our PS4s right now. Or not PS4. PS5 is available for everyone basically. So
yeah. Cats couldn't even buy one until this year. Like, come on now, stop that shit. And then oh god.
No, sorry, no.
I was gonna say the even crazier part about it is this isn't like the point of our episode. We're gonna get into that in a second, but the thing that we really like, the rumor around that PlayStation 5 Pro is that it's supposed to have like 60 compute units or whatever. Like, so it should be capable of like playing like certain games with a higher resolution, like more easily, so on and so forth. Mind you, I wish I knew. I want to say and don't quote me on this, like this isn't official or anything like that, but I want to say the PlayStation 5 has like 40 something compute units. And it's moving up to 60. The Xbox has 58. So like what are we like? You're 2 compute units higher than the Series X. Like, granted, you're moving much further away from the Series S, but like, I don't know. Why would I want to buy?
And then like this whole this old 8K shit. I don't know. Like,
yeah, but
I just
feel the systems that we have now are already capable of 8K. You know, like it's just nobody has an 8K monitor or display or anything like that. B, you don't need like a whole new system to output 8K. It's really just you're supposedly getting like a couple more frames per second out of certain games. Apparently, there's like going to be something called like an enhanced ray tracing. I don't know, man. It's if it comes out and it's like $600 or something like that, like some crazy higher price than it already is.
Yeah, I think I'll pass on that.
What the fuck is the point? What the fuck is the point? It's
like I would get that because I don't have a PS5 yet, but people who already have one, there's no incentive to really switch. You know what I'm saying?
But even still, you think you would go get it for like $600, $700?
And if it can't go past 6 for me. If it goes past 6, then that's not a good look because the pros don't really add up to that. You know what I'm saying?
I still feel like at the end of the day, the life cycle of the console is not going to change too much, right? We're still going to get a new system whenever we end up getting one. And the rumors say that Xbox isn't going to build their own Pro, but then again, they have that port in the back of their system where the expansion card can go, and I feel like they could get away with like adding some sort of $200 attachment, which I think is the way it should be. Like you remember back in the day with the 64. You remember the little like expansion pack? Literally the expansion pack that used to go on the front of it. Like that shit was great. That like completely changed the game because there was all these games that you couldn't play now unless you had the expansion pack. Like I remember the Donkey Kong Country, the Perfect Dark game. Like there was a couple different games out there that you needed the expansion pack for in order to, go ahead and play those games. Like they should just do something like that instead of building a whole new console and making us shell out another $600. Like shit is ass. Yeah. But anyways, actually, you know what? That's a perfect segue for the real thing that we want to talk about today, which is just kind of the state of gaming as a whole. There's been a couple videos, some thick pieces and whatnot, some articles that have come out that talked about, where gaming is today. And how some people think it's unfixable and it's fucked and it's this and it's that and so on and so forth. Just a lot of controversy from microtransactions to just general, bad business practices. Even some stuff that we were talking about earlier around like, not having as many like original ideas. Everybody's trying to make a sequel to something or remake something or so on and so forth. We're not getting too many new IPs, really just going to get into the whole gamut of it. So, I don't know. Where should we start, guys? Where do you guys? I mean, microtransactions is kind of the easiest thing. So
we should start with the beginning, though. Loot boxes.
Okay. Yeah.
That definitely fucked us up, man. I remember when I first played Advanced Warfare, and that was like, I don't know if there was like anything before that. Advanced Warfare is like the first that I can recall because like, I'm a console guy. I'm sure there's like more like loot box heavy things or microtransaction heavy things on PC for like some games. But I remember, that game was like heavy pay to win because you had to buy these loot boxes to get these variants of weapons that were like kind of OP. So pretty much just shelling out like $20 a check just to get this, Bal 21 royalty variant or whatever, just to, outgun everybody else, or even just like getting skins and stuff like that. So like I would say like, loot boxes definitely kind of just fucked us in a way, because then that led to other stuff like the item shop. People got tired of loot boxes, and they're like, okay, why don't we just give it to you for a higher price? And so on and so forth.
I'm trying to think about it. I can't think of too many. Like I know that they exist, so like I'm not disputing it or anything when I say this. I literally just cannot remember the pay to win games from back in the day. One of the most prominent loot box situations I distinctly remember was the Star Wars game.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
say
how.
EA.
Yeah, how bad EA got slapped with that one. Like that was probably the worst it got, and that was like at the height of people really being fed up with it to the point where they literally revamped the entire game as a result of it, right? But I do remember loot boxes being everywhere. I remember being in Call of Duty. I mean, I think they're still at a smaller level than like other games, but they're just not tied to like money necessarily. But that concept of just rolling the dice to potentially get something good, I mean, you know, it exists at some level in other games, but I think it definitely had hit like a really weird place back in like what 2015, 2014, like just
Yo,
really
dude, worst
predatory.
time, bro.
Yeah, like super predatory practices, right? To the point where like cats were out here. I mean, it still goes on now, but like, you know, yeah, little kids going out here, little Timmy out here stealing mom's credit card and like racking up thousands of dollars of transactions just to get loot boxes that, you know, never really amounted to anything. And it's like, bro, like that's really shitty.
And the thing's actually still like coming back with Counter Strike, because I know like it's been like a little trend I've been seeing lately where people trying to open loot boxes now just to get that rare knife that costs a lot of money, and it's like even that whole thing doesn't make sense. It's like, you know, I I get the whole loot box aspect, but like now you're adding like, you know, actual value to these items, and it's like it's just gonna encourage a lot more people to just keep on buying more loot boxes just to try to get the rare stuff. Like I think the latest one I heard was some guy I think won like $100,000 knife or something like that in the loot box, and it's like, you know, everybody's seen that, they're probably like, oh, I got to get this $100,000 knife, right? You know,
yeah.
So
See, but now we get into like this weird territory where like even though I hate it and I do feel like it's predatory, it's really not that different than like going out and like buying a scratch ticket and buying like tons of scratch tickets. Like there's a chance to win money. You know what I mean? So it's weird. It's weird.
But at the same time, like gambling shouldn't be like, you know, in the video games in a sense. You know, like there's children.
Well, why not?
There's children playing these games, especially. Well, I mean, Counter Strike is. I mean, I don't know what it's rated per se. Like if it's like a T14 game, then it's like okay, then you got like technically kids involved, but like who knows what it's rated. But like in the end, like we got to think about the children. You know, the future of gaming.
Look, I'm gonna put it to you like this. I have an absolute problem when those types of microtransactions come into the pay to win side of things. As far as cosmetics go, like, I don't know. Is it really the developer's responsibility to be protecting kids in regards to like making sure that they don't buy something? Like, I don't know. Look at Fortnite, right? Like what stops the situation with Fortnite around like, oh my God, there's another new skin at the item shop. Oh my God, they have Futurama in the item shop. Let me go like buy this, you know, like buy all these V-Bucks and then boom, like now I have all these skins and that, you know, like there's nothing like these developers aren't in essence forcing anyone to buy these things. It's purely choice. And I think that a lot of the time there's a lot of wasted energy by the community in getting upset with the developer. But the developer, at the end of the day, their job is to not only create a good game, but also make themselves some money. And if people are buying those things, they're going to continue to make those things. I think there's a different problem when the quality of these microtransactions or the microtransactions in general start affecting the game. Like Destiny, I think is going to end up being the perfect example. And I won't, Chris, I know you know all about this, so I'm not even going to take your shot on this one. So say what you want to say about Destiny or whatever, really. Go into it.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to get at, man. Like, I don't have an issue with microtransactions, like, on paper. The idea that a dev wants to try to recoup some kind of money, some kind of way from folks in other avenues or whatever, like, I kind of expect that. Like, to me, when you talk about microtransactions, it's not much different than somebody who is a splurger and somebody who's a minimalist, right? It's the same shit. You know, the person who's a minimalist is the person who decides, you know, I could spend my money on all this other shit, but I'll save it or I'll use it on other things that I find more important, whatever. These are not bad concepts. The concept that I think that is horrible is when, and, you know, Destiny is a good example, when you are shining a light on your microtransactions and your cosmetic shop or whatever is where you put the most of your efforts all the time, and the rest of the game and your core content, all that stuff suffers because of it, that is an issue. Because that goes beyond loot boxes. That's literally an allocation of resources issue. Feel me? Like that's what that is. I am never ever going to be okay with a game or a developer saying to themselves, "Oh, well, we know this part of the game is suffering and people are really complaining about it, but let's make sure those cosmetics are still hitting every season." That's an issue. You can't do that to people. They don't like that shit. You know, especially when it's a situation where, again, in Destiny, like, for example, if a cosmetic comes out and it's brand new, 90% of them shits, you can, let me not say it like that. That's not true. 75% of them, still a high number, you will never be able to earn through just playing the game, like, ever. It's never going to be a possibility for you. Whereas that's just not a good look, man. It's just not. Like, yo, there's got to be a way to do that stuff better, where there's a much better balance with that stuff. But yeah, you can't have your actual gameplay and your actual updates to the game and all that stuff be affected to this degree, you know, when it's a situation where you need to fix a bug in the game, right? A fucking bug that's messing up PvP or messing up whatever in the game. You can adjust a bug that affects your cosmetic store like that, lickety split. Another bug happens where you got motherfuckers getting melted in the Crucible for fucking 3 months. By X, Y, and Z weapon, like, bro, what the fuck? You know, it breeds frustration in people, because it's like, why is the eyes always on this? You know, and then you got a lot of, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I would argue it probably is easier to fix whatever's going on in the store than it is to fix what's going on in Crucible. Does not change the fact that that thing in Crucible should still have gotten fixed. Like 3 months is just unacceptable. Yeah, immediately. 3 months is unacceptable.
There's been times that Destiny shit has been broken for almost a year.
Yeah.
Like dead ass. Like, that's crazy. You know, and it's just like, bro, y'all can't be doing that shit. You know, when y'all put situations where you got stuff that can enhance your gameplay experience or any of that kind of shit in any kind of like seasonal passes, like, I'm never gonna be here for that shit. I'm only here for season passes and microtransactions and shit that truly are just like cosmetic based, that does nothing for your actual gameplay whatsoever. I don't like seeing shit like fucking or no, I take that back. I don't mind microtransactions when they allow you to min-max and not a way that's going to give you an advantage. So remember back in 2K when you used to be able to buy a pair of sneakers and give you plus 2 to your dunks or whatever? Shit like that, I'm okay with that too. Yeah. That's okay. Because that doesn't make me feel like it's game breaking or anything like that. Yeah. We all have access to the same thing and they don't cost that much. So it's not like a thing where I'm sitting there like, yo, I've been sitting here for 4 months trying to grind out this pair of kicks and I can't do it because, you know, Jimmy Rich Parents down the street was able to buy the fucking kicks and I got to grind so hard. Yeah. Those kind of situations suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to feel like that. Yeah. You already got to grind hard enough to get fucking VC just to get your actual attributes up.
I was going to say, that's actually like I was struggling to think of like a real pay to win moment. 2K is very much pay to win, like entirely.
Absolutely. And it's been that way for fucking years, bro. Forever. Years, dog.
Since the introduction of the perk and all that stuff. Yeah.
Day one, these cats will be 99 for when they buy it. Because 2K allows that shit, man. Well, it's crazy.
There's some like there are some things. It's still pay to win. I think it's like day one cats could be like, what is it, 90?
85.
Nah, I don't think it's 95. I think it's...
No, I said 85.
Oh, 85. Okay.
85,
yeah. Yeah, like day one, they could be 85 to 90, and then you have to grind the rest of it out. And I don't know why, but that doesn't really bother me the same way it would bother me in other situations. But you're right. That is also, in essence, pay to win. But it feels different. It feels different because there's a pay to win up until a certain point, and then... You know, once you get into like the higher level stuff after that 85, then it's like, all right, you actually have to make your build right. You actually have to grind out shit. Like you have to, you know, play the game in essence. You can't just roll up and just be a 99 overnight. Like anybody who's a 99, you know that they put in time and effort. So it doesn't feel that bad nowadays. But the other thing you were talking about with microtransactions in general, And it's something that I always notice in these conversations that people never really talk about this game. And I don't know if it's because a lot of people who are actually having these conversations don't care about Fortnite or anything like that. But Fortnite, and I'm always going to end up bringing it back to Fortnite when I talk about microtransactions, because it is the perfect example of they hit you over the head with microtransactions 24/7 around the skins, but they're completely optional, and they make the game fun in a way because you look like your favorite character, whatever. But the game never suffers for it. Never. At no point in time, you know that if there's a bug, that's just gonna get fixed. You know that you're constantly getting new content. Like literally every week, something is different happening in Fortnite. Every single week, they keep up with that. They have their I'm assuming they have a separate team that handles the cosmetics and the item shop and whatever, what have you. They have a particular team that probably handles creative, like the creative mode stuff, and then they probably have another core that focuses more on the elements of the game. And it doesn't help that they obviously also are in-house making this engine too. But Fortnite, it like without fail, if something is wrong in the game, it will get fixed within a day or two. Like the game almost never suffers in that way. And it's like it's a crowning achievement as far as the industry goes, right? Because for all the things that we talk about wrong with gaming, I mean, I'm sure Fortnite has its issues if we really like want to sit down and pick it apart a little bit more. But Fortnite, you're always getting something new, like no matter what, and you don't have to spend money to have fun in that game. Regardless, it's free to play. It's truly free to play. You don't need to spend money in any aspects. And realistically, more games could benefit from that. And you think about another game that I think about too that we've been playing a lot lately, Manny and the rest of us, is Rainbow Six Siege. They have some weird predatory things that I want to get your take on in a second, but generally speaking, if something is wrong with that game, it gets fixed pretty. Like they try to work to get it fixed as fast as they can. There's some issues here and there, but like there's this weird audio glitch that I know has been happening, but I've been seeing patches come out pretty consistently. Like, okay, it fixes this audio thing, but something else then ends up breaking. But at least I know that they're working towards trying to get it fixed. They also keep a pretty constant stream of communication with the community as well. There's always going to get like new operators after X amount of months. Like every new season, there's 2 new operators, there's new maps, there's always different things happening within the game as far as things that change the meta. So like that, there's like a lot of give and take in the game, and I think that because of that, like people garner pretty goodwill towards it. But there's still like a couple little predatory things that personally I think can be overlooked. I don't necessarily think that big of a deal, but I'm curious what you guys think about this one. So Manny, I don't know if you know about this, but so Thorn, the operator Thorn, she recently got a 1.5 scope on her gun. When she first came out, I don't think she had that 1.5 scope. She had like a traditional, like all the other regular sights on the gun. So
yeah, Defender stuff.
Yeah, regular stuff the Defenders have. Recently, they gave her a 1.5 scope, but they also have now been pushing like premium skins for her in particular. So like I think she has a WWE skin and some other new skin that just came out, and it seemed to coincide with the 1.5 scope. So it's like, all right, like it's kind of like let's give people more reason to use her, and then let's like sell some microtransactions beyond that. And it's like that's kind of sneaky, kind of smart, but at the same time it's relatively harmless. Like it really isn't like you don't have to buy the skins still at the end of the day.
Yeah, so, it was just like it depends on how bad this was. I've been MIA in Siege for like I would say like a year before I started playing again. So like it could have been like Thorn really needed a whole new site for like X amount of months, but then they decided to bring it out like let's say a year later with 2 new skins. Then that's kind of like a shitty like practical business move. But if it's something that's just like they're constantly doing their things to kind of like work characters and constantly tweaking little things and stuff like that, then it's like okay, you're doing your thing like we talked about before Fortnite, and it's okay, whatever, you drop these 2 skins. It's all, like you said, optional. I mean, me personally, I only bought like 1 or 2 elite skins back when elite skins first dropped, but ever since, I mean, you get alpha packs or Well, I forgot that. I think it's alpha packs, right?
Yeah, alpha,
Okay.
Bravo packs. Yeah, there's all types of
Yeah,
shit.
so like you get these alpha packs, and what I like what they do is like you get this random spin. Every match you win, you get a chance to get it. So, it's all completely optional, but it gives you skins there too as well. So I haven't really, bought anything. They implemented the season pass, of course, a couple of years ago. I haven't really gotten much into the season pass because I don't play the game as much as I used to. But like if I get far enough, I probably would shell out the $10. But like I said, it don't bother me as long as you take care of your game, man. You can't just have a game that's completely broken to dog shit and just promote all these skins and stuff like that. And I'll give an example of Call of Duty. Call of Duty is faster than, advertise, oh, we got Tim the Tatman and Nick Merckx, even though they took out Nick Merckx. I'm not going to get to that. It's a whole different subject. But then this game's in a dog shit state, you know what I mean? And then it's like now they got, the boys stuff. We got Homelander, Starlight, and
Black Noir.
Noir, there we go. And it's like, I mean, I can't really say gameplay wise because I haven't touched the game in a while, but
It's horrible.
Yeah, last I remember, it wasn't a shitty state, and you're just doing your best to push out these stuff. And you know what? It's good to have collabs, but it's also, it would be nice to have a collabs with a nice game that isn't completely like broken. And that's where we go back to Fortnite, where like you said, they recently had a Futurama collab, and that's great. Like Fortnite not only just like updates the game to like fix some bugs and stuff like that, but like when they add stuff, they also add like these little like things. Like for example, the My Hero, they had the smash move, or the Kamehameha with Dragon Ball Z, or the Attack on Titan, the grapple hook and stuff like that. So like, they make it so that you can enjoy these things without buying anything. You could just play the game, find the loot, and you're good to go. And
I will say for the comparison that you're making, though, the boys, there is a way to enjoy the boys without having to buy anything, but it's just poorly implemented, in my opinion.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Yeah,
with
you can get Temp V
laser.
and like you get superpowers in the game. It's just that Fortnite, you're allowed to do wacky shit because it's Fortnite, right? The nature of the game, it's not built to be realistic or anything like that. Call of Duty is a military shooter, boots on the ground. It's meant to be very realistic. You can't be having people shooting up Temp V and then all of a sudden like being Homelander on the map. Like it just doesn't it doesn't work. It just looks stupid. And then on top of that, the gameplay. Personally, I just think they've been continuously making like really weird bad decisions. Like this is a small one, but I was just playing it today with Orlando. And do you know that you can't go outside the circle? Like you can't go into the storm to use the buy station anymore. So like let's say you have a mask or something like that, you want to run back out and buy somebody, you can't do that anymore.
That's the point of these gas masks. Like in my opinion, you get these gas masks and you're like stacking up because that's a feature that in Warzone 2. Like why would you stack up these gas masks if you can't even like make plays outside the circle? I think they're just taking a step back ever since season 1, and them just listening to everybody bitch about certain things. And it's like they took out the whole like upgraded backpack where you can't carry 3 weapons, which was great, tactically. Now you got this whole third option, but they don't have that no more. They took out the 3 plates, the 2 plates, or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like one, they're listening to the wrong things of the community, and 2, it's like just like stick to what you initially had, what your initial idea, because in the end, fixing things is going to create new problems that everybody else is going to hate. But in the end, they just care about pushing these new skins anyway. So,
but that's actually a separate like thing that I want to pivot to real quick because I want to start wrapping up. But that's another issue that I feel like pops up a lot in gaming is like they certain developers end up listening to the community, not even the community, the vocal minority of a community way too much and make really bad changes and then have to like backtrack. And I don't know, like it's great that we have all this interconnectivity and like you can release a game in a certain state and then make certain changes to it and it'll be in a completely different state, but there's sometimes just been really bad decisions made. And like Call of Duty is a perfect example. Diablo just had a big misstep where they just nerfed a ton of shit across the board. and then a week later we're on. And this is one thing I'll give them a lot of credit for. I'll say this up front. They seem to be having like a weekly like fireside chat where like the devs are like in front of people talking actively. But like it was like a week after that change, they were like, we will never do a change like that ever again. It's like, why the fuck did you do it in the first place? Like, like what made you think like, oh, we have this problem, let's just nerf everything across the board and then release a brand new season? Like, no, that's not the way to do things. These games are designed to be power fantasies. You don't want to make people feel weaker. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like it's just another example of like, I don't think they were listening to community on this one. This was just a bad decision. But like, there's other, scenarios where they nerf a particular gun or do a particular thing, and it's just because people are complaining so much. 2K's got to be one of the most prominent examples I can think of, where it's like this most recent 2K, right? They added in these like adrenaline boost things. So like once you do like a specific dribble move, it takes away from your like adrenaline. It's different from your turbo meter. And I think like it was preventing people from curry sliding like 24/7, like bounce, and then shoot to the basket, or just dribble, and then like drive by you. And it worked really well, in my opinion, in this 2K. And there's rumors that in the next 2K they got rid of it entirely. And it's like, bro, like did you learn nothing? And it's like, I already know all the content creators that were out there, dribble god, pull up, shooting threes and whatnot. Like they were complaining to, Mike Wang and Ronnie 2K and whatnot. And like those are the voices that they're hearing, like those content creators, and they're not looking at the broader range of like, hey, everybody plays this game. And you have to pay attention to not just the dribble guys. You got to pay attention to the bigs. You got to pay attention to this. You got to pay attention to that. And it's like you're only listening to the vocal minority as opposed to what's actually good for the health of the game entirely. Like even if you piss off these like content creators that are like upset about not being able to curry slide left, right, center, or whatever, they're still playing the game. They're still on your game. It's not like they're just gonna like sell less. You're not gonna sell less copies because I don't know. Agent Zero says that he's mad he couldn't curry slide, because he's still gonna be making content about 2K the entire time. As long as you don't alienate them entirely and just break the game completely, you can get away with pissing off some people in small aspects, but you ultimately have to do what's better for the entire community. Like I think a lot of people, when they look at 2K, like the people who aren't necessarily out there making like YouTube videos and on Twitch or whatnot, like they go to play a simulation basketball game and they feel like, it doesn't feel like actual basketball anymore, where like people just dribble, breeze by you, or like do crazy pull-up jumpers and like you're defending them properly and they're still somehow greening them. Like that doesn't feel good to an actual like basketball fan who's expecting, to play basketball like you would normally play it like out on the court. So, sorry, that was definitely a big rant on 2K, but like it's just another perfect example of like listening to the community too much and making stupid changes.
I mean, even so, there was like a thing with Apex where there was like it had a golden shield, and the purpose of the golden shield was to get the ability to self-revive, when you get down, and there was nothing broken about it, like the self-revive took like a good 10 seconds. There's a lot of animation, and it's pretty visible.
Rare. It's also a rare thing to get that. So,
and then I guess apparently, a lot of content creators or, pro players, probably just like wannabe Twitch streamers, were just like complaining about it. And I'm just like, how could you complain about something that is so easily like, like you really can't lose to a guy that's like self-resing unless you really suck.
Yeah. Like you're just not paying attention to the fact that he's self-resing, or you're like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Has a loud sound cue. It's very visible. You see the guy like, dramatically trying to stand up and stuff like that. So it's like, that's just like one of the things. And it's like, instead of complaining, I'm gonna be like these TikTok comments, skill issue.
Now you got to bring it back in the day. Just sit there and say, get good and keep it pushing, bro.
Facts.
Get good.
You know what I also hate, though? I gotta throw this in there because you guys mentioned the vocal minority and yada yada yada. How about the times where you get like an update list on everything that happened to patch notes or whatever, and you got a whole ass change in that bitch that literally nobody asked for. Like nobody asked for that shit. And then y'all decided, I don't know what team y'all got together that thought that this was the move, but literally no. So again, I gotta go back to Destiny, right? I gotta go back to it. In the last, I want to say 6, 7, 8 months, because you haven't played in a while, Denzel, they have implemented something called airborne effectiveness, right? Airborne effectiveness is a whole. You remember how you used to be able to kind of shoot with a shotty and still get a shot off in midair, and if you were good enough with a hand cannon, you could shoot from the air.
I lived.
You have a whole other stat now for your ability to be able to shoot in the air, right? And every weapon, for the most part, starts off with like super low airborne effectiveness. So you can kind of min-max a little bit via different mods that kind of get your numbers up in that regard. But the idea that unless you do that, you're completely just dog shit from the air now is crazy. Dude, I can't think of one person, not one Reddit post, because I be reading all this shit. I be seeing it. I've never seen anybody say, yo, yo, you can't be shooting in the air, dog. Yo, nerf that. Like, I've never heard that. I think the closest I might have heard was when Hunters was using Stompies. Stompies were a little crazy for a little bit, and they jumped through the ceiling. I will say that shit was wild. But that's the only instance in which that was a thing. For y'all to go and do a blanket nerf in the entire game, so that way you pretty much keep most of your players on the ground now. It blew my mind, because I'm like, Destiny is known as a movement shooter. Like, everybody who touches this game will tell you, I like the way it feels. I like the movement in the game. I love being able to slide and And for a second there, they even nerfed slide shotgunning too, where like you had a penalty where if you slid into a shotgun engagement, your pellet spread was wider and your stability it went down as you were sliding and shooting. They just reversed it, but it was like that for a year.
See, that or something like that makes until more now. Sense than the jumping thing, because people used to complain about the shotgun stuff all the time.
But like, they already nerfed the ranges on the shotguns. They nerfed mad shit, and then y'all went and took the sliding away. So you literally had to like bump elbows with somebody for a little bit in order to get a one-shot kill off on the dude. And it's like, dog, yet you want to give people SMGs that shoot like auto rifles? Like, dog, like, what are y'all doing, yo? Like, this shit, yo, some of the SMGs hit ranges that auto rifles can't even hit. That's stupid. It's an SMG, bro. Like, you're not supposed to do that. Same thing in Call of Duty a while back with the shoddy, I forgot what it's called, the 725 or whatever.
Oh man,
bro, that shit shouldn't have been doing that shit, dog. Like, the sniper. I mean, don't get me wrong. That shit was fun as fuck.
It was fun as hell, but it needed to go.
I ain't gonna lie, it was fun. But when you're on the receiving end of it, dog, you be wanting to throw your controller. You can't get shit off. Then you're cockroaching. You're doing all kind of crazy shit now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The whole Destiny thing is a little weird, but I do know that, and I'm not like in this community anymore necessarily, so I'm not entirely sure if they already had this conversation, but a lot of the time, developers will make some of those changes based off of their own data and looking at their data and just not liking where the game is necessarily. So like Siege is big on that. They will straight up look at like so like when you play Rainbow Six Siege, there's in ranked, there's like a banning phase, and you can ban 2 defending operators and 2 attacking operators. And they will make decisions based off of who's getting banned, right? Either by like nerfing or buffing that character or creating some situation where that player doesn't get banned anymore. Or even maps. They notice certain maps get banned too much. They'll try to take them out of the rotation, rework them, and then put them back in. So I don't know if that's what happened with Destiny, and they're just like, I don't want people in the air as much anymore, so we want to make it more of a ground and pound type of game. Doesn't make sense to me because the game has always been something different. But I think another really good example, and it's not necessarily like a traditional game, but it's a game that I've been playing a lot, is Marvel Snap. They are very stringent about, hey, we see that when this card is played, it has a 60% win chance. So we're going to nerf this card because this card is problematic. Like when they make a change, they are very, very good at explaining why they're making said change. And they will like hit you with facts. And like, we never envisioned this card to play out this way. We don't want it to be this way. Change. So on and so forth. This card is not getting utilized enough. Change. Like Like there's a lot of data that goes behind it. And I love when that type of stuff happens because there's real justification for it outside of just, oh, this person's upset about it. Like people are complaining about it a lot, this, that, and the other. Like there was this other card called Galactus was the card in particular. People were fucking pissed about this card because it would basically blow up the entire board. Like there's 3 locations that people can play cards on. And if you dropped Galactus on a location that had no cards on it, the other 2 locations would blow up and all those cards would go away. And for the longest time, people were like, this sucks. I hate this. And then the developers came out and they were like, well, actually, this card only has a 30% win percentage. We're not changing it right now. And like, if it becomes a problem down the road because of other things, then we'll change it. And sure enough, it did. And they did go ahead and change it. So like, I love that like data-based, like, decision making. Like I just think that shit's great. Like those 2 games I feel like are very balanced. And if there's ever a moment where it's not balanced, they try very hard to get it fixed. And I feel like games like Destiny, and Call of Duty and so on and so forth, they could benefit from looking more at that data and making changes accordingly.
If you look at the patch notes half the time, they make it seem like that's what they base their information off of. And I mean, maybe they are. You know what I'm saying? I think the pain point for a lot of the folks that I read about is that, again, your cosmetic store gets all the attention. Mm-hmm. Y'all have given us 1 new map in 3 years. Y'all actually took maps away from us, and you have yet to give them back. So the rotation of maps when you play Crucible, like if you get back in there one day, you're gonna see it feels like there's only like 5-6 maps in the game now, and there used to be way more than that. They took them away. You're still charging the same prices for these DLCs and all this stuff, and then you're focused on sliding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, dog, like what is that?
They could really benefit. They could really benefit from just coming out and saying straight up, hey, we took all our PvP resources and put it on Marathon.
Yeah.
And just letting that respect be. It more. Yeah, just letting that be. Because I feel like there's this illusion that they're like putting effort into PvP. Or at least they're like giving you the lip service that they're putting effort on PvP, but they're really not. And like, I'm not even... Yeah. All of these things are exactly why I'm not considering myself part of that community anymore. I'm still like, I still keep an eye on what's going on. Like I'm very interested in this new DLC that's coming purely because I want to see what's going on with Cade. And I will certainly be tuning into the Destiny showcase that's supposed to be happening next month.
Couple weeks, yeah.
But man, like, I don't know. I just don't like where that game is at. But I will be buying Marathon day 1. I will be there. I will be there.
Yeah, Marathon is a game that I think people are going to have to make some time on their schedule for. But it's going to be tough, like playing that game, having fun, and then being like, what the fuck, though? Like, come on.
Yeah.
These are where my boys went? God damn it, man. Shit.
But at the same time, it's hard to expect. I totally get it, man. Like, we want Destiny to be what it was and all this other stuff. It's very hard to get creative people to stay on the same game for 10 plus years. That is a very difficult thing to do. Like creative people just want to create. They want to do something different, so on and so forth. Those people, they were like, we're done. Like, and on top of that, there's only so much flexibility you have in a game like Destiny, where it needs to be this one particular thing and like this is the universe that you've created and you can't do too many things to deviate away from it, right? Like, for example, we talked about a battle royale game in Destiny, right? When you think about it, you have to do some loops in the story to get like 100 guardians on a map fighting, right? Like, I don't know. There's some stuff you could do with it, whatever, but like it doesn't fit what Destiny is. So if there's people on the team that are like, yo, we want to do an extraction shooter, but like we want it to look like this, and this. Let's say they wanted it to be more boots on the ground and it's not all this jumping and so on and so forth. It's like, well, we can't do that because Destiny's all about jumping and like powers and this, that, and the other. So let's just go make a different game. Like it sucks, and I like I'm totally here with you on that, Chris, and I'm here with like everybody else who's like upset with where Destiny is. But at the same time, like it's tough to get people to work on the same game for that amount of time. Like it just is.
No, I get that. People get burnt out and they want to challenge themselves in different ways and all that kind of stuff. Like I definitely get it. But I the thing I give pushback on is that I think at this point we're just at the point where we're not even asking for a lot, or at least it doesn't feel like we are. We just give us a new map every 6 months. You know, every 6 months, give us a new map. Fix broken shit a little quicker. Maybe put some of the Eververse shit that you have as a reward if you get a high kill game in Crucible or something like that. That would make motherfuckers feel better. That'd be nice.
I think ultimately what may not necessarily make y'all feel better, but would just kind of take the carrot away that's dangling in front of you is to just straight up say like, hey, we're moving on. We're moving on.
Oh,
we're working
man,
on
that's
Destiny
such a nail in the
3
coffin,
or whatever.
man.
It's just like at some level you have to level with people.
If they say that they're working on D3, then I'm perfectly fine with them completely abandoning D2 right now. I would dead ass say that to you because they did the same thing with D1. They let people know D2 was being worked on, and they gave us a little bit of a loosey-goosey ass last season. Whatever, that's cool because I knew the big shit was coming later.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So if you're telling me, dudes, all right, we're just giving up on D2 at this point. We're gonna finally give in, create from the ground up a brand new thing that moves the story along. And if they could figure out a way to get people's weapons to transfer over, I'm okay with it. I have no issues with that. But they haven't said any of that shit. The cadence has always been, we're listening.
Yeah, I think if there's any word that it gets said, it has to be this showcase. If they don't say anything like that at the showcase, then I think they really got to come correct with what they're showing off. And I still feel deep within my heart that it is a complete engine change. I still feel that. Like, I feel like they're just like, we're not going to do Destiny 3, but this is literally Destiny 3. Like, and I think that's probably the best place for them to go with it because people are going to fucking be pissed if they have to, like, you know, get all these new guns and all this other stuff. But at any rate, it's turned into like a whole Destiny conversation.
Yep. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, but I do think that Destiny like is one of those things that can encapsulate like a lot of the problems that are going on in the gaming industry right now around microtransactions, around content, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, Destiny makes me depressed.
I don't think it's dying though. That's the only thing I will end off with. I do not think gaming is dying per se.
Yeah,
I just think that it's. We remember when a couple months ago when I asked y'all, is this more of like a 0.5 console generation? Is it more of something? Because it still kind of feels like it's missing that wave of momentum that a lot of the other past console generations have gotten. Mm-hmm. I think as soon as they finally push these things to their full potential and actually come out with consecutive bangers, like a good 5, 6, 7 months of just, oh my God, can y'all stop with the bangers? Until we get something like that, I don't think some of this kind of talk is gonna die. Because I don't think we've gotten that since launch. We've gotten good games, but they're very spaced out between each other. Yeah. You know, and that's hurting the generation for sure.
I think Starfield can definitely change the narrative around the generation entirely. I was thinking about this the other day because we've been playing more GTA, but GTA 6 is another one of those things that just will completely obliterate that narrative. Because again, GTA has been, you know, out and about for 10 years and we're still playing it 10 years later, which is insane. You know, multiple console generations, right? And it's had its little little ups here and there, so on and so forth. But like, you know, we were playing it yesterday with Orlando, and he's like, you think they're gonna update the movement in GTA 6? I'm like, hell yeah, they better update the movement. 10 years, hell yeah. It's the 10-year game, my dude. They got to do that at the least.
Shit.
So you think about all the fresh new things that they would bring to the industry. You know, even let alone thinking about if they took Red Dead Redemption 2's movement system and put that into the next GTA, it would already be leaps and bounds ahead. And Red Dead's like, that's an old game at this point. You know, it's aged, right? What is it, 5 years now?
Damn.
4? Yeah, 2018.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Wow.
Like,
wow.
I love that game, man. Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar,
that game is a masterpiece.
It's just one of those companies, man, that like, you know we talk about these other companies, you know, even though, they had GTA Online for almost 10 years, like for GTA 5, like at least they like, you know, update shit and give us content and stuff like that. Granted, should be expensive nowadays and fucking, what's that word called? Inflation be kicking my ass in GTA, but
GTA inflation is something different,
bro.
bro.
Like, yeah, before, like, I remember used to do missions and you'd be like, okay, 20 grand. Okay, we go. We can get this and that for 20 grand. Nowadays, 20 grand ain't shit.
Bro, we just did Cayo Perico today, right? And I think we split 2 million. I think it was like 2.2 million 3 ways, right? I got a little bit more because I was the one hosting the thing, whatever. I only ended up with like 800K out of that. And I'm looking around like, all right, like I want to try to do something different with like one of my businesses, something yada yada yada. Bro, it's like $2 million alone just to do something in GTA. Like, man, yo, how you walk around with $1 million and still be broke in a game?
Brokey.
Sense, bro. It's like a slap in the face.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is absolutely crazy.
Wow. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, like we were saying, I think GTA 6 can change the narrative about how we see this generation. And then of course Starfield, you know, we're still sitting there with bated breath on that one. Because everything we saw so far, you know, it looks different. It looks nuanced and whatnot. It's funny though, because this narrative that's been going on around like gaming being broken and whatnot. Linus Tech Tips had that like unfixable video, and one of the guys in there specifically referenced like, you know, that Bethesda games in particular, like there needs to be more companies that are trying to make Bethesda-esque games where it's just open world, do whatever the hell it is that you want, do everything that you want. Don't have to do the quest, don't have to do side quests, don't have to do anything. Just go out and explore. And obviously there's an air of that in GTA. Breath of the Wild was a game that was mentioned as kind of a retort to that. But like those games are kind of like Elden Ring, so on and so forth. There's not enough of them, you know, to the point where like it's almost, I don't know, like there's so many of the open world games, but they're still so like shittily done that you still have to like, you still have to do this mission, you still have to do this. Like I remember I feel like it was Saints Row. You couldn't just go out into the world in Saints Row. You still had to do a certain set of missions, and then eventually you could go out and explore the world in Saints Row. Not that it was necessarily anything worth exploring, but I don't know, it's just, yeah, that's another issue for gaming in general. But I guess we've probably gone over our time at this point, so this would probably be a good place to end it. But this is definitely a conversation that could come up again. I think it may have to come up again because there's still other things that we haven't even touched on as far as you know, areas that need to be improved in gaming. So we'll leave it there for now. You know, again, for those of you who are listening and watching, thank you so much. If you're on the YouTube channel, make sure to you know, pop down in the comment section, you know, a pain point that you have in gaming, you know, whether it's microtransactions, it's, you know, some of these stupid changes that get made through patches and whatnot. Just, you know, give us your take, tell us what you think. And of course you guys can check us out on social media as well to talk a little more about that. We're obviously on Twitter, aka X, whatever the hell that rebrand is now, at XPack Pod. Also on Instagram at XPack Pod. And then also check us out on TikTok. Just search up Xpansion Pack Podcast with an X. And yeah, that's it for now, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. See you guys next month. So peace.
Yeah.